This is worksheet number 9, and worksheet 9 starts with a quote from the Mishnah. Shleim v'lo ratza lishava v'chule. If he pays and he doesn't want to swear, etc. If you remember, the case of the Mishnah is you have a watchman, he's watching something that belongs to the owner, and the thing he's watching is stolen. And we know the halacha is if an unpaid watchman is watching something and it's stolen, he doesn't have to pay for it. He could just swear. But the first case of the Mishnah is where after it's stolen, the watchman decides, even though he doesn't have to, that he's going to pay for it. Shileim v'lo ratza lishava. He didn't want to swear. He pays for it. We know the halacha is that if the thief is then found, the thief would pay the kefel to the watchman. Comes along the Gemara, and there's two Amoras here, Rab Chia bar Abba, and he says this in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. Let's take a look. Amar Rab Chia bar Abba, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rab Chia bar Abba said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. Remember, these are Amoras. They came later than the Mishnah. But they're saying, Lo Shileim Shilei Mamish. That when the watchman, when it says that he paid, Shileim, he paid, it doesn't really mean that he actually paid. Lo Shileim Shilei Mamish. When it says he paid, it doesn't actually mean he paid. Ella Kevan she'amar hareini mishalem. Rather, since he says, I would like to pay, behold, I will pay, afal pisha lo Shileim. Even though he doesn't actually pay, he would still get the kefel. So as long as he just says to the owner, I'm sorry that your cow was stolen, I know I don't have to pay for it, but I want to pay for it, I will pay for it, that's enough that if the thief is found, he'll get the kefel, even though he hasn't actually paid for it. Asks the Gemara, Tanan, Shileim v'lo ratza lishava. If you look carefully at the Mishnah, it says, Tanan, it says in the Mishnah, Shileim v'lo ratza lishava, that he pays and he didn't want to swear. It says specifically, he pays. Shileim in, lo shileim lo. If you think carefully about that, he pays and he doesn't want to swear, that's where he gets the kefel. Then shileim in, if he pays, yes. Lo shileim lo. If he doesn't pay, then no, he doesn't get the kefel if he doesn't actually pay. So how can you say, Rab Chia bar Abba, in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, how can you say that the watchman will get the kefel even though he just says he's going to pay? That shouldn't be enough. If you look carefully at the first case of the Mishnah, which is called the Resha, if you look carefully, it says Shileim, he actually paid. That's when he gets the kefel, not if he doesn't pay. Comes along the Gemara and says, if you just look at the last case of the Mishnah, you'll have a different problem. Ema Seifa. I'll tell you the last case of the Mishnah. What is the last case of the Mishnah? V'lo ratza l'shalem. If he swears and he doesn't want to pay, that's very careful wording. If he swears and he doesn't want to pay, that's a case where he does not get the kefel. And the Gemara takes a very careful look at that Seifa case, the last case of the Mishnah. It says he swore and he doesn't want to pay. Taima de lo ratza. The reason is because he didn't want. Ha ratza, but if he did want to pay, afal pisha lo shileim, even though he didn't really pay, as long as he just wants to pay, that should be enough that he should be able to get the kefel. Now, in the case of Rab Chia bar Abba, who said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, where the watchman only says, I'm going to pay, behold, I will pay, is that a case where he wants to pay? Yes. So even though he doesn't actually pay, if you take a look carefully at the last case of the Mishnah, it would indeed, like Rab Chia bar Abba says in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, he should get the kefel. So if you look at the beginning part of the Mishnah, which says he pays, that's where he gets the kefel, that would seem to imply that if he doesn't actually pay, he doesn't get the kefel. But if you look at the last case of the Mishnah, the Seifa, where it says if he swears and doesn't want to pay, then he doesn't get the kefel. That implies that if he would only just want to pay, even though he doesn't really pay, he just says, I'll pay, then he would get the kefel, which is like Rab Chia bar Abba in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. So which way is it? If you look at the Reisha, it seems to be a question on Rab Chia bar Abba in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. But if you look at the last case of the Mishnah, it seems to be fitting okay with what Rab Chia bar Abba said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. So the Gemara ends off and concludes, Ella miha lekalamashma mina. Rather, from here, you can't imply anything from it. Since the Reisha, the first case, seems to imply against Reb Chia bar Abba in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, that you would not get the kefil if you didn't actually pay. But the last case seems to say you would get the kefil if you just wanted to pay, even if you didn't actually pay. So you can't learn a one or the other from the Mishnah. So we're stuck without any proof for Reb Chia bar Abba or Rabbi Yochanan or any question against him. So that's the way the Gemara leaves off.